What's up, everybody? Jensen Cummings here. Thank you, as always, for tuning in. Today is Best Served Podcast 215, and we're talking a love letter to Italy with Tony and Cathy Mantuano of the Joseph in Nashville. Tony and Cathy, thanks for being on.
Hey, sorry, there's like kitchen noise coming. We're asking to shut the door, so hold on.
We're in the restaurant. We're in Yolan right now, and happy to talk to you.
Yeah, the more energy from the restaurant, the better. You know,
Okay,
I think it's I think in this moment in time, feeling that energy means a lot, especially our audience being so many restaurant people. So I appreciate that. And you know, if somebody comes by and has to grab a bottle of wine from behind you, that would be amazing as well. So I appreciate that.
It might be us, by the way.
All right, and this channel, Best Served Hot, where we focus on hot food trends, emerging markets, culinary vanguards, and so I'm very interested. Italian, obviously, is what you've really made your name and built a brand around. Emerging markets, Nashville is absolutely becoming a emerging market, and then culinary vanguard. So you literally check all three of the potential boxes for this channel. So I'm excited about that. Tony and Cathy, Food and Beverage Partners at the Joseph Nashville. For anybody who doesn't know, tell people the Nashville. The Joseph. What can they expect from your guys' brand?
Well, we're a luxury brand. We love to do Italian food and wine, the best of the way it's done in Italy. The hotel is gorgeous, has great modern art everywhere, beautiful marble floors. Every room has original art from artists from all over America, Tennessee artists, but New York artists, video art. There's also a fabulous pool deck where we have a small restaurant called Denim, which is like a little, I don't know, what would you call it? Maybe
Denim. You want me to describe Denim?
Yes, describe Denim for me.
Denim's the restaurant
Your turn, Tony.
you wish you had on your corner in your neighborhood.
Yes, your neighborhood place. That also opens up to the pool deck with cabanas and a saltwater pool and just beautiful views on the 21st floor. So
I think it's the tagline that we use for the Joseph is Nashville luxury redefined. So, and I think this is really where Nashville's at right now. I mean, we all love Nashville. We always love Nashville, like, for what it is. And now there's this element of Nashville that is on top. Like, it's like we're taking it to the next level. And, you know, we're the first. I mean, the Four Seasons is coming and blah, blah, blah. But what we have heard from our guests in the 3 weeks that we've been open is this is exactly what Nashville needed. You guys are doing it right. There's nothing like this in Nashville. Yeah. And this is who we are, that we didn't like change anything. These are things that we learned when we worked years ago at Del Pescatore, which is a 3 Michelin-starred restaurant in Lombardia outside of Milan and near Cremona. I mean, this is what we were indoctrinated with from Nadia and Antonio Santini, is just like, this is how you do things. And by the way, none of it's pretentious. Like, we are, you know, we're welcoming you, we're warm, we're friendly. Like, the people that feel like they're out of place, maybe, that's our biggest challenge. And those are the people that we think we can turn around and make like advocates. So that's the other thing that people tell me all the time when I talk to guests, is that everyone here is so friendly. And to me, that's better than, oh my God, that veal chop was unbelievable. But yeah.
Every time it's hospitality. And I appreciate when chefs speak on that, because sometimes we get so tunnel vision on the veal that we forget it's about relationships, and the food is just the conduit for that communication. So I really appreciate hearing that. I want to take people back a little bit for the 5 people in our industry who don't know about the two of you and Spiaggia in Chicago, who must have been under a rock or just got in the industry. Anyway, tell people a little bit about that restaurant and kind of amazing restaurant, award-winning, James Beard, all of those things. Yet it was also very different because it set a very different expectation for Italian food, as that cuisine, we think back, it wasn't as high level as you all put it on the map for. It was very much French cuisine was at that level. Steakhouses were at that level. Italian was still red sauce joints quite often. and we love those. Spiaggia was very, very different. And then it also put Chicago on the map a little bit. So I want to set the table for people a little bit, kind of take it away from there. Spiaggia, why was that such an important restaurant?
I think you can throw it all the way back to someone who was very influential in our careers, in our life, who started a company called Levy Restaurants, Larry Levy. Here's a guy who was developing the building on the corner of Michigan Oak in Chicago, and he was going to Italy a lot. He was buying marble, he was buying granite, he was having these incredible meals, unpretentious but incredible food.
Hospitality.
In Forte dei Marmi, right on the coast in Tuscany, where all the marble comes from. And he's like, I want to do that in Chicago. And by the way, we're looking at a lake, and we're sort of on the water. I mean, that's the Mediterranean there, but we can do something like that. And I was fortunate that Cathy was already working in one of his restaurants as a server and would talk to him every day. And then he would share his plans with her. And she's like, oh, you should meet my boyfriend at the time, my fiance. And that's, she gets credit for making that happen. And then once we met, it was like, okay, you guys, we cook for him. Cathy served wine. And he's like, this is exactly what I'm looking for. But we got a year before the restaurant opens. Why don't you two go to Italy and work? And that's when we met.
Okay.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, twist my arm.
We'll send you our bills, and but honestly, Larry gets a lot of credit, and he's no longer involved in Levy Restaurants, and right. That's one of the reasons we're not involved in Levy Restaurants anymore either. But he had this vision, and he's accomplished so much in his life. And I don't mean this to be about him, because it's not. But one of the things that he always says is one of his proudest moments is creating Spiaggia. And when I won the James Beard Award for Best Chef Midwest at the time, I thanked him for creating one of the most beautiful restaurants in the country, and going back a few years. But but we had this, when we were in Italy, we had this blueprint. Like, this is what an Italian restaurant should be. This is Del Pescatore, this is Da Romano and Viareggio. These are the places that we want. We didn't even have, we're not even filtering it through the Chicago red sauce places or what's going on anywhere. It's like just direct import. This is what we're going to do. We're going to fall on the sword, and we're going to live or die. And that's just it. That's the story.
I appreciate it. Cathy, I want to touch on this because we all know that you're the one that makes it all happen. We all know. And so it started very early, though.
First to admit it.
Yes, being connector of people. What was it about Larry and starting with Levy Restaurants, and then the vision that you all had? Why did you see that that's where the opportunity was?
Well, because he was so passionate about his restaurants. I worked at his restaurant called Chestnut Street Grill, which was modeled after the Tadich Grill in San Francisco, and it was all about fresh grilled seafood and unadorned and sourdough bread. And I mean, it was just to see how excited he was about the food that was coming out of his restaurants was really inspirational to us. And then to find out that he really loved Italian food was another thing that made us so excited. And he wanted Italian wine, and there wasn't a whole lot of great Italian wine at that time. And when we went to him and said, we're going to just have an all Italian wine list, that didn't exist in Chicago. And it was huge, because all of the Italian winemakers then would come to us, because they had to see the place that put all Italian wines on an Italian wine list, didn't put French wines on, didn't put American wines on. And we got so many great people that came from Italy, and we did wine dinners with them. We got special wines from them. I mean, and Larry loved that too. He loved good wine as well as good food. And so that was very exciting for me. Plus, he really liked the hospitality that we brought back and the way of running the dining room. So, it just, when we saw that initial passion, though, it made it easy for us to just take off on it.
I love that this went from a love letter to Italy to a love letter to Larry, which is very fitting. Absolutely, somebody who set the tone for what our industry is today. And I'm very much a history buff of the industry, and so you don't think about these things that are just normal now And even just a couple decades ago, it's a completely different landscape. And the three of you definitely set the tone for that. For people that don't know, the year that Spiaggia opened, when was that?
Wow. All right, here we go. 1984.
Yeah.
You weren't born.
I was too. I got a baby face. I got a baby face. So really, really important. Even just that amount of time, it is a completely different industry. And so I just want people to really, really understand that. If you don't know about Spiaggia, look it up. It's very, very important in kind of the zeitgeist of what's happened in our industry. So appreciate that. Now, the move to Nashville. You two are is there a statue? There's got to be statues of you somewhere in Chicago, and you make the move to Nashville. If there's not, we're starting a petition.
Oh, you're cute.
Why Nashville? Why make the move from Chicago? Your name brands in Chicago. You've built a whole legacy there. Why make the move?
Number one, we met these again. Like we met someone who was incredible, who passion for art and passion for luxury hotels, and that's Joel Pizzuti. And Joel, like once we met him and started talking to him, and we shared the same visions, and then we started coming to Nashville and looking at what he was doing, and it was like, man, this is pretty special and a special time for Nashville as a city and how they were growing. And it's sort of in a way paralleled the opportunity of 1984 in Chicago. And I'm not saying that Nashville's 35 years behind Chicago, but I'm saying that the opportunity was perfect. It's like nothing existed like this in Nashville. Mm-hmm. And so it had to do with the right partner, the right moment, the right challenge, the right opportunity. It just seemed like a perfect time. And so when we left Spiaggia, we said, Joe, this is a great opportunity, but Cathy and I were fortunate to have dual citizenship. We went to and lived in Italy for 3 months and just sort of recharged our batteries for this project. And of course, went back to Del Pescatore and
our other favorite restaurants.
And just got it, so again, it's like the opportunity, the partners,
the project.
We're always people who want a new challenge. Someday that's going to end, but right now we're still going strong.
I like it. Well, I want to go to Italy now because you mentioned it. I always believe that travel, sitting down at a table with people is the way that you build relationships. Like if I've sat down at a table with somebody and eaten what they've cooked or they've eaten what I've cooked, we may not always agree, but I could never hate that person. And especially in times like today, the more time we spend interacting with each other and being inspired by our ingredients, our love of food, our family history, like all these things are important. And so I know that that's something that you're seeking out. You mentioned recharging. So when you go to Italy, what are you looking for? What do you find in those moments? Where are those places or those people or those stories that become the bedrock for something like the Joseph, that you're really trying to encapsulate that? Take us on a little journey there, because we all need to get away right now.
Yeah.
Right.
And they're not really like they're hidden gems because there's so many great examples. We spent, when we went back there this last time, we actually lived in Milan for a while, and it's amazing what's happened in Milan. And chefs like Nico Romito, who has a 3-star Michelin restaurant in Abruzzo, has opened like basically in the Duomo, and it was an incredible meal. It was
informal though.
Informal, but it was urban. It was very much unlike what he does in Abruzzo, but it was top notch, world class. And so it's just, obviously you can imagine, and you'll do the same thing. Like how many times you'll talk to one chef, or you'll look online and you'll look at this publication or something, and you'll just sort of cross-reference the possibilities for lunch that day. And there's all these churches we should see. Yes, there's also lunch, and that becomes the primary thing. So it's finding a place, and some place that cooks with their heart, and some place that really inspires you. And it doesn't even have to be fancy, but it's just
When we were there also, we found a lot of new wine bars. and a lot of them that do like pet nats and just really, simple food. But you really go for the wine, and they are so much fun, and just you taste all of these things that are happening in Italy with wine, and that to us was so great. We'd go for big lunches, and then we'd go to wine bars and then do like wine and snacks for dinner, and of course we have our favorites or the traditional places. Like we lived around the corner from this seafood restaurant that was amazing, the turbo, and just simply prepared foods, but so delicious. Linguine and clams. I think they knew our order every time, but because they just did such a great job with the classics, which is something we really respect and something we try to do with our menus, right, Tony? We try to, don't recreate a dish that exists that's perfect, in Italy. So,
yes, like the wine bars that she's talking about, like. There's a couple places. One place, the Champagne Socialist, was like in Milan, which honestly we probably went there 4 or 5 times. Like while we were there, and we got to know, the people running it. And the other place was the AVN, the Association of Vino and Salumi Naturale. I mean, these 2 places were like, it's like the next generation, but they're totally hooked into all the great wine stuff that's coming out now. So.
You are speaking to my heart right now. My wife and I, now wife, were in the shadow of the Duomo over New Year's, and unbelievable. The Italians and New Year's, that's a whole nother level there for sure. And absolutely, we had a couple places that were on the list, and then we said, where do you go? And then we'd watch for people that looked really hungry and that were jetting somewhere, and we just follow people. And I remember a lot of that, and these kind of little wine bars and these little alcoves that you wouldn't expect. And then you're drinking half bottles of Dolcetto d'Alba, and you're like, I've never even heard of this. It's just, it's such a memorable experience. So I really appreciate that. And I think people just need to reflect on that. Whatever that is for you, find those sincere moments wherever you are, if it's in Nashville or if it's in Chicago, if it's Milan, or if it's right down the street from your house. There's absolutely those people that are so passionate to share an experience, an ingredient, a wine, anything. So I'm really, really grateful to hear that. Let's go back to Nashville now. So you mentioned kind of the luxury that you're bringing there. Nashville obviously is a booming food city. Yet to your point, it has a different swagger, a different style to it than kind of what you two are known for. Were there challenges at first with kind of, round peg in a square hole? Was it exactly what people needed in the moment? How did it feel as you were kind of bringing this concept to life?
I think there were a lot of challenges for Cathy trying to find the wines, because the wines, even though we knew all the importers, the distributors didn't have a market here for some of the wines we wanted to pour. So
a lot of the wines, actually.
So it's like, okay, we'll talk to New York, and then New York, so I think you could probably speak to that better, but
it seems like there were the most popular wines in Nashville are French and American. But once we talked to the distributors here and told them what we were looking for and what we were going to do with the wine list here, they couldn't have been more helpful, and they helped bring us all the wines that we want. And now they're still talking to us more. They're like, once they found out what we were looking for, now they're into it and they love it. They've been here and bringing friends or other people in the business, and they think what we've done here with the wine list is pretty cool for Nashville, and that's been really exciting. And farms are great here, right?
The farms
are really farm.
The farm seems equal to anywhere, really. The amount of both protein and vegetables, it's like pretty cool.
What are you really excited about? What sets your chef spidey senses off when you get something in that's local? We just go, we didn't have this in Chicago. This is nice. Like, what is something you're really excited about there?
Well, for sure the season's longer.
We'll have tomatoes, they say, till October.
Oh wow, that's game changer for you.
It really is. It really is. I think the pork products and the beef from Kentucky is like, it's pretty incredible stuff. You're familiar with some of the farms. It sounds like
very. Yeah, the pork producers there are pretty world class, I would
Yeah.
say. I'm always really, really impressed with that. So I love hearing that. What else do people, in Nashville now, as you're kind of bringing yourselves into that community? What are the types of conversations you're having with them? Let me back up. I'm fascinated in this. When you come and you have such an established brand, are you coming there and saying, we're bringing Spiaggia, the next iteration of that, the next version of Tony and Cathy Mantuano? Are you having conversations with the community, finding out what best version of yourself they actually need and want from you? Like, as really smart operators, like, how do you kind of think about that? And the reason I ask is so often you see this where somebody comes into a new market and doesn't understand the community. And I think that you obviously have always been very thoughtful about that, always trying to represent the people more than the food or even the wine, right? Mm-hmm. So go there a little bit. I think people can learn a lot from that. What's the conversation you're having within Nashville to understand Nashville better?
I think that we decided when we first started thinking about Yolan was this is going to be a place where we're going to pay the respect to Roman pastas. Like those are the pastas that are really most representative, that a lot of Americans know, like the amatriciana, the cacio e pepe, the carbonara. Like these are things that people know and love. So we're going to do it, and we're going to do it exactly right. We weren't going to change it. We weren't going to put fucking peas in, our carbonara. And so it's just, that was the number one thing we decided is like, let's give people, like the true, this is the, where else are they having that in this market? So that was the number one thought we put into it. And I think it carried through just about everything we do. Like, costoletta alla milanese is a veal chop that's breaded and pounded. And, as you know, and we serve it with a little salad and lemon on the side. But that sort of relates to Southern cuisine in a way, or a lot of different cuisines. Like everyone has sort of a breaded cutlet, I guess is the right word, or maybe not the right word, but we leave the bone in, and it's a really popular dish here. People love it, and it's really true to Italian culture and Italian cuisine. And one of the things that's been most gratifying to us is that the people that work here, the kids, we call them kids, but like we're so proud of them. But 4 weeks ago they couldn't say Parmigiano Reggiano, and today they walk up to a table and I'm like amazed at their knowledge. And like, not only do they know Parmigiano Reggiano, they know the farm it came from, they know how old it is, they know the whole process. And it's like, you couldn't even say that a month ago. Like, you couldn't even talk. Like, now you're making eye contact and you're confident, and nothing more gratifying than watching people grow like that. And I think that's one of the things we like to think, that we're mentoring a lot of people, and it's carrying on here, and we're really proud of it.
Yeah.
And let's go there with the people. You were so gracious to mention a whole laundry list of people that have been meaningful to you, and we really, really appreciate that. And you had some kind of current and former mentees. I'd love to just touch on that, because you are in the relationship business. You are in the cultivating humans business, right? And hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of people over the years have worked for you and then gone on to do amazing things in or outside of this industry, just because they had that level of hospitality kind of as foundational to them. So I'd like to take a couple moments, if that's okay with you, to just touch on a couple people. You had mentioned some people like Aaron. Who is Aaron?
Aaron Tabo is actually the chef of the hotel. And he's someone who worked with us in Chicago at Spiaggia, and also worked at Girl and the Goat. And now he's running a luxury hotel, and it's a real... and he's excelling and he's growing, and to watch him grow is pretty amazing. And then, so he's part of that whole Joe Flam family. Like, they all came from the Goat, and
right.
Of course there's been no bigger success than Joe, and he's about to open his own restaurant in Chicago. And even though he could be my son, I feel like he's one of my best friends, and we talk all the time. And the funniest thing is when we couldn't talk during Top Chef at all.
Sure.
But when we came back, he and his wife Hillary, who's awesome,
she's wonderful.
The four of us had dinner just to get his second night back. Like, all right, let's have dinner. And So, and at that time I had no idea. No one had any idea like what happened. And Sarah Gruenberg had been on before, and she was also executive chef of Spiaggia, and she was on season 9, I think, and she finished second in that episode. She probably should have won, but we all believe that. But she's also still a dear friend, and her restaurant Monteverde is doing great. And what we talk all the time as well. But when Joe came back and we had dinner, I said, so, and I had already signed a confidentiality agreement, but with Bravo. But he said, well, let me just put it this way: I did better than any of your other chefs that went on the show. So, that's a really funny way to put it, but I got it right away.
That's great, because you already knew somebody came in second.
Right.
That's great. Well, you have absolutely been an incubator for putting talent out in the market, and I think it's interesting. It's like, do you become this like attraction, this magnetic attraction to talent, and or are you putting the talent out there? And I think it's a combination of both, right? You become a place that attracts the most passionate and talented people, and then you cultivate that talent and put them back out into the world. So I appreciate that. You also mentioned somebody currently that's a sommelier. Cathy, for you, wanted to touch on that really quick. As you're kind of like building up sommeliers, what are you kind of looking for? What are the things that bring together service and wine knowledge that are important to you? And I think you mentioned John, it was?
Yes, John Kearns is our head som, and we also have a great som team with Caitlin Kupiak, who's from this market. So she's been so terrific in helping us with the distributors, and she knows so many people in the market, and she has such great style and hospitality. And Andrew Birch, a guy from Colorado who's living here now. And the som team is just fabulous. We go over all the wines, we talk about things, and it's great because we're going to start teaching the staff as well, but they can go to we have at least 2 soms on every night, I should say.
Which, by the way, is unusual for a lot of restaurants. But it's actually, and sorry to interrupt, but it's actually been paying off. I mean, on a Monday night, our wine sales are more than our food sales, because there are people there talking about wine, and this is why you should drink this bottle of wine. And so, I mean, everyone's like, you're crazy. You're going to have 2 soms on the floor in Nashville. And I'm like, honestly, it'll pay off. So,
I like it. Does it get a little competitive on who's selling more, wine or food?
Oh, yeah.
I would say so.
Yes.
But John's from New York, and they all come with a great resume of working in the industry and loving hospitality, loving food and wine. And Caitlin looks at the wine list and goes, okay, I think I'm going to sell Biondi Santi tonight. And we're like, okay. And then that gets everyone else fired up. But, it's just a great thing to see people, getting excited about that. But also we have these beautiful wine glasses from Bottega del Vino. They're a hand-blown crystal from Verona. And we've had a lot of guests say, wow, they've never seen these kinds of glasses before, which is also awesome. And the decanters are really beautiful too, and we decant a lot of the older stuff. But it's
John's
just been
great. John's great.
John is great too.
Yeah.
You want to go back to John? Okay.
No. But,
no, they're all great.
It's perfect. You two touch every detail. This has always been kind of the mainstay of the work that you've done. Every single little detail. So I love that you just go down a rabbit hole of your glassware and your decanters, because in your mind, every little nuance is as important as every other nuance. And I think that is the reason that you are so good at hospitality. You just are thinking about and being thoughtful about everything. So I really appreciate that. Last words. This was an amazing episode. Anything you want to leave us with?
Well, I mean, you touched on it, and we talked about hospitality, but an example of there's a couple here the other night, very, very friendly. They bought a really beautiful bottle of Ornellaia, and I'm talking to them for most of the night and having a really nice conversation. And they paid and they left, and someone said to me, "Do you know who that was?" I'm like, "No, they were really cool though." And he's like, "That was Kenny Chesney." I'm like, "Oh, okay, so that's cool."
Big deal.
But it didn't even matter. It was like he was we clicked. He was friendly. He said, we'll be back. You know,
They enjoyed it.
They loved the wine. They're like, Nashville needed this. And, you know, so those are really fun stories that, you know, like, it doesn't matter who you are. You're going to have a great time, right?
Yeah.
So.
And we're not pretentious. We're friendly. We want to give you a really fun experience, a great meal, great bottle of wine, proper but friendly service. And we're here for you. We're here for you, Nashville. We're here for you everywhere.
We're friendly snobs.
Yeah. That is, I love it. I absolutely love it. I'm on my way. You got me coming at the very least. I really, really appreciate it. Amazing. You know, for me personally, Spiaggia was one of those restaurants that I was like, always, as I was coming up as a young cook, I was like, what's on the menu there? I remember always collecting menus, and Spiaggia was always one of those that definitely. Blackbird was another one in Chicago that I remember too. So there are a few Chicago restaurants that always kind of like, I was just like always paying attention. So I really appreciate that. So I'm grateful to have had you on the show. So thank you so much for being on.
Our
Thank
pleasure.
You for having
Thank
us.
you.
Thank you.
All right. Have a great day. Cheers.
You too.
You too. Bye.
Yeah.
All right, everybody. Absolutely legends, Tony and Cathy Mantuano. Love letter to Italy, love letter to Larry, love letter to Nashville, love letter to hospitality, food and beverage, and amazing people as always, always, always. So great episode. Oh, Janet Isabelli. I'm sorry, Sophie. We have to pop her name up. Janet Isabelli, who's been on the show, great friend of the show, is the one that connected us to get Tony and Cathy on. So as always, acknowledgement. The show is built on good people connecting good people. Janet is, so are Tony and Cathy, and I'm so grateful to be able to have this conversation. So thank you so much for tuning in. As always, I appreciate